Class of 1970, thank you for attending today's rededication ceremony, honoring our 16 fallen heroes and the rededication of the Doughboy. To begin the ceremony, Cadet Van Vlimmeren will recite the poem In Flanders Fields.
The poppies blow, between the crosses, row on row, that mark our place, and in the sky, the larks so bravely singing fly. Scarce heard, and with the guns bellow, we are the dead, short days ago we lived, felt dawn, saw sunset glow, loved and were loved, and now we lie in Flanders fields. Take up our quarrel with the foe, to you from flailing hands we throw the torch, be yours to hold it high, if you break faith with us who die. We shall not sleep through the poppies grow in Flanders fields.
It's now my great honor and privilege to introduce the President and Superintendent of Wentworth, Major General John Little.
Cadet Van Vlimmeren is the one that deserves the applause there. She did a great job. You know, when I travel around the campus here, particularly at night, I've shared this with people before, there are a lot of memories that kind of speak out to you for those of us that grew up on this campus as you walk around. And one night a couple of years ago, I was walking by the Doughboy here, and he said, "By your leave, sir, could I have a word?" And so I was kind of taken aback. I stopped and went over to see what he had to say. He said, "You know, I've been here for 80-some years now, and I've never had an R&R. And I'm wondering if I could take leave for a short while to kind of get myself back together." And I said, "Yeah, you know, I've noticed that you're looking a little bit worn with the years, and you know, you probably need some rest." So we approved his leave, and he took off on leave. Was gone for almost 2 years. He came back this past August, and again, shortly after he returned, I was out walking around the campus one evening, and I stopped by to see how he was doing. And I asked him, I said, "How was your R&R?" And he says, "Sir, it was really great." He says, "It was just what I needed. I feel refreshed, ready to go. I'm glad to be back." I said, "Well, where did you go? Tell me a little bit about what you did during your R&R." And he says, "Well, the first thing I did was I went up to the Liberty Memorial and just kind of hung out with some of my old World War II friends up there." And he said it was really great. We shared war stories, we talked, we had a good time. And he says, "You know, they really treated me great up there. I stayed there for almost a whole year. And while I was there, they let me stay inside. And I went through the winter indoors for a change, and I didn't have all the ice and snow and everything that I'd gotten used to living with here at Wentworth. So it was wonderful." He says, so I said, "Well, where'd you go after that?" And he says, "Well, I went to a spa for statues up in Omaha." And he said, they were really great. He says, "I had my first bath in 80 years. They really took care of me. You know, I had a steam bath, the whole 9 yards." He said it was fantastic. They did a little cosmetic surgery on me, so I really looked good again. And they polished me up and got me all squared away. And so, you know, I really feel good coming back here." I said, "Well, you know, Doughboy, we're really glad to have you back." And I said, "You know, take charge of this post, and you know, you're really welcome back here on campus." He says, "Sir, before you go," he said, "I'd like you to do 2 things for me." He said, "First, I'd like you to thank all those people that donated money to help me go on that R&R and get all fixed up again." And I said, "I certainly will do that." And he said, "And oh, by the way, if you would you thank those cadets that did the Road to Liberty March, that came up to see me at the Liberty Memorial, because," he said, "I really enjoyed seeing them there." And I said, "I certainly will." And to honor that pledge to the Doughboy, first of all, let me thank the gentlemen that made it possible with their donation donations and all of you that contributed to the donations to refurbish the Doughboy. And to the one guy that we got left here who was a part of that road to liberty, Cadet Rosen, we salute the cadets who made the 2 Road to Liberty marches. Thank you very much.
I'm fighting a cold, so this may be a tag team MC here, so just bear with me. I'm going to give you a little history of the Doughboy. In 1921, 3 years after the war, to end all wars, a group of Lexington Old Boys decided to raise funds to build a memorial to the alumni who served in the war. The Old Boys chose the spirit of the American Doughboy statue by E.M. Buchaney, and we have members of the Buchaney family here. We just found out today that we've been pronouncing it incorrectly all these years. We've been pronouncing it the Quizne, and the family corrected us today, so we appreciate the correction. It took $1,400 back in 1921 to purchase this statue. Today it costs us $10,000 to refurbish the statue and another $10,000 to shore up the foundation and refurbish the plaques. Mr. J.G. Crenshaw, the very first graduate of WMA in 1885, volunteered to spearhead the project. 2 years later, the hollow copper Doughboy statue was dedicated at commencement on June 10, 1923, and here he stood for the next 80 years. 3 years ago, while cleaning the statue, a Wentworth Honor Guard Association Old Boy, Ross Taggart, discovered the statue had structural problems, specifically in its ankles. The association decided to spearhead a new fundraising drive to restore the statue. Our Doughboy was removed from his pedestal and displayed at the Liberty Memorial Museum in Kansas City while word spread about the fundraising drive. Cadets came to the rescue. Cadets always comes to the rescue. To raise funds, 2 sets of 5 cadets completed a 45-mile road march entitled The Road to Liberty. A march from this very spot to the Liberty Memorial in Kansas City. The first group marched on July 4th. The second group was on Veterans Day of 2003. These 2 marches raised over $8,000 in pledges. And I think everybody here probably contributed to the Doughboys, so I'd like you to give yourself a hand. It is interesting to note that the 124th Corps Cadets, last year's Corps, was the only Corps since 1923 to not have the Doughboy statue on campus. But the 124th stayed. Thank you, cadets. The Doughboy, once the money was raised, the Doughboy was transported to Omaha, and restoration work began by Jensen and Jenson Conservatives. The Doughboy was returned here only 6 weeks ago when 3 old boys generously offered funds to fix the pedestal and add a new plaque which bears the names of 2 alums that were left off the original plaque for reasons unknown. We assumed that it was because the communication back then they didn't have the email thing. The restoration effort was in keeping with the spirit of the work, and it took a combined effort to complete the process. Our deepest gratitude to the Wentworth Board of Trustees, Major General John Little, Colonel Mike Lehrman, Mrs. Pam Penthausen, the alumni, the cadets and their parents, the staff and faculty, friends of Wentworth, and last but not least, the Honor Guard Association for ensuring the Doughboy will remain its post for the next generations. There are several individuals who went above and beyond that we would like to recognize with a token of the school's appreciation. When I call your name, please step forward. Mrs. Denise Bikini Bradley, Mrs. Kathy Bradley Schoppenhorst, Mr. and Mrs. Bud Bradley, Mr. Doran Clark, and Lieutenant Colonel Ed Kennedy. with his name, Bradley, is the first cousin 3 generations removed. She's from Kansas City, Missouri. Mrs. Kathy Bradley Schoppenhorst is from Marthasville, Missouri, and is first cousin 4 generations removed. Mr. and Mrs. Bud Bradley from Greenwood, Missouri, also first cousins 4 generations removed. Mr. Doran Cart from Kansas City, Missouri is the curator of the Liberty Memorial Museum. That's where the Doughboy went for his part of his R&R. Lieutenant Colonel Ed Kennedy is the senior Army instructor from Leavenworth High School in Leavenworth, Kansas. He's responsible for bringing this wonderful World War I color. Next, I'd like to call Mr. Earl Goldsmith, Mr. Les Capel, Commander Roy Nelson, Mr. Dale Solonico, Mr. Wendell Colby, and Mr. Jed Douglas. And last but not least, Cadet Major Matt Rosen from O'Fallon, Illinois. Mr. Earl Goldsmith from Houston, Texas, and his wife's with him. Mr. Goldsmith gave us invaluable assistance in researching the Doughboy. Mr. Les Capel is from Oxnard, California. He runs a website only for the Doughboy statue. And if you get a chance after the ceremony, please come up and talk to him. It's a wonderful, wonderful website. Commander Roy Nelson is the commander of the American Legion Post in Lee Summit, Missouri. It's very significant that he is here today in Post 189, the color guard to your right. Mr. Dale Solonico, go ahead. Oh, I'm sorry, sir. Mr. Dale Solonico from Omaha, Nebraska was instrumental in helping us finish the foundation. Mr. Wendell Colby from Lincoln, Nebraska, also helped us finish the project. And Mr. Jed Douglas, I believe is from Lexington. I hope I didn't confirm that. Also helped us. Last but not least, Major Matt Rosen from O'Fallon, Illinois. He is one of only, well, he's the only remaining cadet that made the road march up to Kansas City. The other 9 are serving in the service. Thank you. I'd like to call the following individuals to come forward to unveil the plaques. Now, you may be wondering why the statue is not covered. To be real honest, we were very concerned that when we unveiled it, that the bayonet would catch and he'd come down off his pedestal and we'd have to go through this all again. So we chose a little easier ceremony. So we're going to unveil the plaques. Mr. Roy Nelson and Mrs. Kathy Schoppenhorst will unveil the plaque on the front. And Mr. Judd Douglas and Cadet Major Matt Rosen will unveil the plaque on the back. Okay. When you're ready, please unveil the plaques. You will now hear from our 16 alums who made the supreme sacrifice.
My name is Barlett R. Bishop, class of 1908. I was born in Ashland, Virginia, but grew up in Lexington, Missouri, where I later became an instructor at Wentworth. In the Great War, I was a captain in the Ordnance Corps. My wife, Virginia, was notified that I had died of pneumonia on December 23, 1918.
My name is Fritz Hugh Chick, class of 1914. I was born and raised in Pattonsburg, Missouri, and was inducted into the Army at Fort Sill, Oklahoma, at age 19. I was a private in Company G, 139th Infantry, and saw much action in France during the war. I died of diphtheria on April 22, 1918.
My name is Robert Emile Clore, class of 1915. I was the first one with lung to be killed in the Great War. I was a private in the 5th Marine Regiment when I shipped to France August 22, 1917. I lost my life fighting for my country at the Battles of Tough Theory on June 6, 1918. American Legion in my hometown of Lee Summit, Missouri, honored me by naming the post after me.
My name is Fred Clark Costner, class of 1913. I hail from Perryville, Arkansas, and graduated high school from WMA in 1913. I always had a fascination with the medical profession and was a member of the medical corps staff at Wentworth as a cadet. In the war to end all wars, I was an Army lieutenant and a medical doctor when Hospital Corps No. 30 was bombed and I lost my life while treating our wounded soldiers. My name is Ralph Cody Crawford, class of 1909. Tulsa, Oklahoma is where I was born and raised. I answered the call to arms and willingly made the sacrifice for freedom. I lost my life during combat action on January 17, 1918.
My name is John Ward Davis, class of 1909. I grew up in the small town of Perry, Missouri. I am one of 3 alums from the class of 1909 who lost their lives defending freedom on foreign soil. I was a Marine and proud of it. I died of wounds during action in France on September 15, 1918.
My name is Ora Daniel Fair, class of 1907. I call Great Bend, Kansas my home. I joined the Army to do my part in the war effort. Little was known about my life or the date of my death. After being wounded in France, I was transferred to a hospital in New Jersey where I lost my life. All I ask is that you cherish freedom like I would have had I lived.
My name is Paul Norcroft Glasner, class from 1904. I too was from the great state of Kansas, Abilene to be exact. I was a good student. I was fortunate enough to graduate with honors from graduate. I was an Army lieutenant when I lost my life in battle in France on October 27, 1980.
My name is Thomas Leslie Horn, class of 1910. I entered the Army from my hometown of St. Louis, Missouri in July of 1918, displaying exceptional qualities of leadership and developed as a Wentworth cadet. I graduated from OTC as a second lieutenant and became an instructor in the School of Musketry. In my short Army career, I was decorated for bravery at Chateau Thierry and killed on October 1st, 1918 at the Battle of Argonne Forest while serving with Company D, 110th Infantry, 28th Division.
My name is Fred Elias Pratt, class of 1903. My hometown was Kansas City, Missouri. I had the honor of serving the U.S. Army as a sergeant in the 5th Motor Transport Company of the Missouri Home Guards. Unfortunately, records of my death are not available any longer, but please know that I served my country with pride and a strong sense of responsibility.
My name is Russell Steinbeck, class of 1911. I served my country as an Army private in the war. I was killed on Vericourt Heights, France on November 1st, 1918, just 11 days before the Armistice. I was a proud member of Company M, 354th Infantry, 89th Division. The American Legion posted in my hometown of Lake City, Colorado, kept my spirit alive by naming their post after me and a fellow Doughboy.
My name is Cleve Mitter Seeley, class of 1915. I was born and raised in Elder, Iowa. I enlisted in the Army's 301st Firing Guard Company on August 2nd, 1918. Not much else is known about me other than I died 66 days later at Hoboken, New Jersey. I treasure my freedom, and I know those present here do also.
My name is Grover W. Sir, class of 1911. I was born and raised in Minden, Iowa. I was always a bit of a daredevil and enlisted in the Army Aviation Corps. Wentworth was notified of my passing as a result of Spanish influenza on October 3rd, 1918.
My name is Ben T. Wiley Jr., class of 1909. I was a local boy, born and raised in Lexington, Missouri. I was a sergeant in the Army Signal Corps with Company E, 8th Signal Battalion, which landed in France on March 4th, 1918. 3 days later, I died during service and was buried in the American Cemetery at Suriname, France.
My name is Carlisle Robert Wilson, class of 1910. Bethany, Missouri is where I was raised. I was an Army captain in the Missouri National Guard, 4th Infantry. On November 7, 1918, I died at Base Hospital number 44 of wounds received in action at Mount Blainville, France, and was buried in the American Cemetery 395, Nevers, France. I was awarded the Distinguished Service Cross for extraordinary heroism while engaged in an action against an enemy of the United States. I was posthumously promoted to captain by the President.
My name is James M. Woodson, class of 1913. I was born and raised in Temple, Texas. I served my country in the Army Secret Service, so little is known about me. I can tell you I died on October 24th, 1918, in defense of freedom.
Ladies and gentlemen, we will now render honors. I'd ask the Battalion Commander, Lieutenant Colonel Joe Perez, to come forward.
Battalion! Company! Attention!
Honor guard! Attention!
Reset! Reset! Arm!
ceremony, the rededication of the Doughboy. Before you leave, I would encourage you to come up and meet these fine people, their relatives, their experts that have an American Legion post named after one of our alums, and especially this young cadet here. And I want to thank the color guard from Leavenworth High School once again. That concludes the ceremony. Thank you for attending.
I thought he seriously did. My wife bought me a rifle butt. And I your rifle butt in 24 hours. I'm better. Hey, when did you get out of jail? Oh, good to see you. Where did you take Make sure I get a good one. I got him over there. I got him over there. Well, we'll let you guys.